evening, everybody. It's Thursday night, my friends, and I'm back. Welcome on in, Just T. Welcome, everybody else. We have made some decent progress. Let me move things around here for a second. We've made some decent progress here and there. I think my camera's going to be off a little bit. A little bit there. All right. Yeah, made quite a bit of progress. Last night, we got past some of the upload hurdles. Still have a little bit of UI work to do there, kind of spruce up a little bit. And we've brought in the text size, now manipulate on the alert itself, and really what I have left right now is to bring the image in and the audio, and make sure it plays the audio. And I want to do that tonight, trying to get those, at least the basics of those in there. Obviously there's going to be a lot of like polishing I'll need to do and like get it to like look a little bit more decent, but I just want the basics to work at the moment, and we're almost there. In addition to that, I want to start looking at what it takes to there's like, so there's several tasks that we need to do in order to get like the MVP of this startup, the minimum viable product. Alerts is definitely a big one, but integration with Twitch and with YouTube is the other big one, and that's going to require me to introduce some like accounts and stuff into the mix a little bit, do some OAuth stuff, and whatnot. I don't think it's going to be overly complicated, but I do need to see like what's it going to take to, like, I've worked a little bit with the YouTube stuff in the past. YouTube actually has just a Java library that I can just mostly bring down and just use. I don't think Twitch has anything like that. I think I'll have to roll my own calls out to it, which is not a big deal. But I do want to start looking at that because I want to see how I can gain access to the alerts and what I need to do to do those things, to gain access to those, and start to put some of the pieces together. My hope is if I can at least get the Twitch integration, I mean, I want to get both, but if I can at least get the Twitch integration started by the end of this, Blitz week, basically, that would be really good. If I can get it like even like working just for alert, even if it's just like one alert, by the end of this week, that's even more fantastic. And I want to try for that. I want to start thinking about like what do I need to do to get this to work as an executable, as an installed thing. I kind of did a little bit of looking around when I first started the project to see what kind of my options were. And I'm definitely still on the pipeline of saying like it's going to be a embedded Jetty server that's running. Right now I'm running off of Tomcat, but I want all this running on Jetty, which should translate over hopefully 1-to-1. What's the security around that? Can I lock it down so that it's only accessible to computers on your local network? And and also like doing the installer. Like I'm pretty sure Java there's like an installer thing that we can use now in Java. Before that was always kind of a difficult thing. Like there was a like JInstall or something like that, but I think there's something that actually comes with the JVM now that I can look at and see what I can make of that. I mean, I'll need a minimal launcher. Like I'll probably have to do a little bit of can't think of the name of it. It's not. I could do Java Swing for the UI, but there's another thing that is a little more robust, and I cannot for the life of me remember it. I want to call it Flex, but it's not Flex. That was the Adobe Flash-based Java thing. But it's something like that where I can I'll have to look up the words of it again, the name of it again, because it's been ages since I've used it. But I'd like to try to bring that down. We'll have just like a small splash window. It doesn't need to be much, and from there you can just kind of start and stop the server and everything. And then figuring out how I'm going to package that all up into just one cohesive unit. Because what we're working on now is a WAR file, which is basically a zip of all the files that are needed. So it pretty much lives on its own. I just need a way to bring that WAR file into the proper launcher package, which will be the thing that actually you run first, the thing you double click on, and then along those same realms, I need to figure out, like, you need to be able to go out and look for updates and alert the user to updates, and then be able to bring that WAR file down, which I don't think is going to be a big deal because it'll be likely posted as an artifact on GitHub. So I might be able to just kind of get away with doing like some sort of curl thing where we just kind of grab the file down and install it directly into the, get that file into the deployment directory of Jetty, and then once it sees a WAR file there, it'll automatically, expand it and put the files where they need to be and run with it. So a lot of the heavy lifting, a lot of the heavy details are taken care of. It's just the plumbing that I need to do to kind of get all that to work as seamlessly as I can. Like make it as blindingly easy as I can possibly make it. So you don't have to think too much about it. Then once I've got like all those fundamentals to a point where they're at least working, they may not be pretty, but they'll be working. Then there's a couple more things. Then I'll kind of jump back, and there's a couple more things that I want to do as far as features go, that aren't necessarily MVP features, but they're features that I definitely would want to have before I even tempted to like release this as a thing, even to testers. So couple more things on that list. And somewhere in that realm there, I need to actually start testing it myself, which means, dog fooding, using the program that I want that I've made. Which honestly, at this point, is anything's better than what I've got right now. Literally, Caster Labs has disabled Twitch logons for temporarily. Like every other day, I can't get alerts and stuff. So, and I understand that they're in a tough situation where they've gotten a crap ton of popularity recently, but like I need the thing to just work. It's like at some point it just needs to work. And I understand a few hiccups here and there, but like when it's every other day, it starts to get really old. It starts to get really old really fast. I hate to say it. I am no disrespect to the dev on that, but it's just like something's got to work. Like your program isn't working when people need it to work, then you're gonna lose people using the program. That's life. That's just the way it goes. So you definitely want to get this to a point where, and of course I'm building this all and testing it all on Linux. I'll be running it on Windows 11 as my test bed. That'll be when I connect it to my own channel and have it picking up alerts and doing all that stuff. So I'll hopefully have two out of the 3 platforms I'll be able to test in some capacity. The only thing left there that I won't be able to test is the Mac. But I will include scripts wherever I can that I think will work on a Mac, but when that time comes, I'll just need to make a call out to Mac users and be like, hey, somebody kick the tires on this, please. But we're a ways away from that, right? That's a lot of stuff. It doesn't sound like a lot of stuff, but it's a lot. There's a lot of hurdles there to try to overcome. So, but hopefully we'll get there. And with as minimal bumps as we can. I mean, really, if I can get to the point where I've got things building and installing into a executable package that can just be run and all that stuff, that'll be huge. Because that kind of hammers home that the whole thing is actually has potential. Right now it's just we're still dealing with a lot of theory. I mean, things are working, but they're working on my development box. They're not working on a vanilla, unblemished, user box. So once we get that to a point where all that kind of works, that you download it, you run the installer, it installs, you can run it, you can start and stop it, and it's, you can connect it to your accounts, and it's picking up alerts and stuff. Then we got something. Then we have something. All right, so first things first here. So I have the image ID coming through, and I need the actual asset, the file name of the asset. So in the alert view controller here, what I really need is, instead of alert settings row, I need the alert settings row with assets. So, okay, I don't. I'll need that with the here. Here. Package or... Oh, I do have alert tags with assets. I thought I made them. Alert settings with asset. Right, so all I have to do is just call that. That should get me what I want. So I want alert settings with asset. I only have to get settings by ID. Huh? Where do I get the alert settings with? Use this somewhere. I think I use this on the settings page. Right? View alert. Oh, is that the only reference to it? This is the only, so I had this and then it's don't have it. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. We can just go and make this method essentially. Where's our expert? Yeah. What did I do? I did get past that by content type. I have to get asset. Asset row mapper. Right, this okay, that's right. I don't have it in the database anymore. I just have the file names, so don't have to go too crazy with it. All right, so what I need is private static final string get settings with pass from alert settings left outer join. Oh wow, assets on. Okay, left outer join. Assets as down. As image. Found. And S, so I need S comma and I want to do wow, okay, yep, that's exactly what I want. Yep, columns over here is private. Oh. So 2 lines. Okay, so that'll get us all the column. Oh. Got to got to put prefix on them, so it's gonna have to be an S, right? And then there's a join with a prefix, right? Right, delimiter. Paste separator. Go look it up. String build. I need a join here. Join array delimiter. Array delimiter. Operator. Join the elements of the provided var args into a single string containing the provided. Okay. There's a way to do it. Pretty sure there's a way to do it. Have to. Starts with, ends with. Split join. Where's a way to do it? I could just add a Apache Commons into right. Okay. I thought that there was an array util for something. Guess not. Huh. There was a way to do. To see if this would give me anything different. Basically does that. All right. Well, I guess we'll just do. Hey, Elmer, welcome. Welcome on in. How are you doing tonight? Do a private static. Final array. And columns. What the hell? The hell is the string utils add string to array? Yeah, say it doesn't exist. It's just dreaming up things here. So columns that yeah, columns that clone that yeah, that's what I want. Map the columns to prefix dot column to array string new. Invoke stream on array type. Okay. Wait, can't. There's no stream? Yep. Oh wow. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I guess you gotta do that. Which is really old school, but I'm using arrays, so that's the way it's gonna be. Okay, that's fine, I guess. So columns, so alert settings, AS, or alert settings, settings. And this. Image. One more. There we go for sound. All right. And this is where settings. bricks. Okay, and then public. Search settings with assets. Things with assets row mapper. And what that? Okay, my first or else. No, that is correct. My mapper at here. West. What call it? Alert settings with asset mapper, and that is a row mapper. And alert settings with okay. That, and then we'll say pop it in there. Alert settings with assets. Pulling in active. Uh-oh, that's going to be a problem, right? That's going to be a problem because we're going to have multiple rows with freaking ID in it. Most that's right, but I'm gonna have a you have a okay. Okay. That helps with some of those. But I got like multiple columns named ID, so that's not going to work too well. Also got multiple, I think, rated up to. Well, this might. I do. gonna be specific though for this one. It's not gonna be a generic generic thing. I think let's do it because all the things are going to be prefixed with their. I wonder if that works though in here. I have a feeling it's going to tell me there's ambiguous columns. No, that should work. It works in other databases. I just don't know. I assume the prefix will be on the columns, so it would be settings not active. And then row that oh, I set the whole okay, so I made the whole asset be in there. Actually, that works out because this actually does. This actually will work, sort of. Like that, I can just call the row mapper on that, which means I didn't even think of that. I could call the row mapper on. No, I can't because the rows are prefixed. Maybe. Think about this. It would be nice to just reuse this. There's nothing that says I couldn't provide my own method. That perfect, right? Okay, so see. Okay, try that. Okay, and correct there. Okay. Which actually means I can actually do something similar and kind of keep these together. Could do that. Yeah. And then I don't have all this logic duplicated. I never thought to do that. Go into that or start settings row mapper. Take this. Row quick. I mean, the obvious way around this too is to not use column names here and instead use column numbers. I don't like to. I don't like to do that because it feels. Because if I ever do change the order of the columns around for whatever reason in the Java, it would mess up all anyway. So I feel like the duplication of code here is probably okay. I mean, I could replicate the column names, I guess, and then just have a thing that appends the prefix to them if it's necessary, but this might be just, well, I'm not even quite sure that it's going to work anyway, so this way, we'll find out. Be the easy way to find out. To new sort things row mapper row num period. Oh, but not map row with prefix. Okay. We have that in theory. here I have that row mapper, so then I come back to here. See what class I just created. There you go. Get settings with assets in this DAO. Come back over here. Settings with asset ID. All right. So that should give me most of what I already had, but now should have access to alert image and alert sound. They're proper, at least. Okay, so then that takes me back to page we're on. So in theory, I should be able to do that is what the that do? Helmet. Image source should be string URL uploads plus alert settings dot what is it? Alert image. Place here again. Image. Image uploaded file. Is that what I called it? Yeah, get uploaded file name. Okay. Yeah, I did put a thing there. It doesn't really need any alt text. I'll be rolling over it. Last line. Hey, is there something in Bootstrap? Enter an image. said aligning there. The same page. Okay. Aligning images, helper foot classes, or text aligner class. All right. Text enter. So I guess I just do text enter then on it. Yes, we have that in theory. So now I want to autoplay sound. So JavaScript will play I mean, is it sufficient for me to just say autoplay there? It might. Because we're just talking about OBS here. Browsers. You're allowed to autoplay only if at least one of the following is true. The audio is muted or its volume is set to 0. The user has interacted with the site. Play has been allowed listed. It may happen automatically. The autoplay permissions policy is used to grant autoplay support to an iframe in this document. I mean, I guess I'll try it first. I'll try to see if the autoplay just works. And if it does, then call it a success, I guess. So audio first. Say that first, it'll be probably hidden. Ooh, that might. Oh, well, yeah, there won't be any control. So if alert setting dot sound ID okay, it actually just did it. It's like, yeah, here's your autoplay. Okay, interesting. Source, uploads, alert sound, uploaded, file name. Type would be alert settings, alert sounds, and then content type. Really, this should be if alert settings alert sound image. All right, I mean, let's see what happens here. All right, build that and start. All right, where are we at here? Works. Running. It's loading so fast I didn't even recognize that it's running. Okay, so down here so we can see what we're doing. Yes, here. And test. It worked. Okay. Didn't even show the text there. Okay, let me try it again. Okay, that's likely, I'm guessing it's being blocked. Let's see if we can. I'm still running OBS in debug mode, so I should be able to connect to the debugger port. I get this. Cool. There we go, 19. Okay, so have alert. Oh, it's still cached. Okay. It cached the old thing. That's probably what's refresh. See here now. Okay, I probably haven't. Not getting the or not. Oh, here we go. Alert content. Alert settings is null or missing. Okay. Alert is null or missing. Did it not retrieve it from the database? Did I have a database error? I must have a database. Oh, here we go. Equals syntax error exception. Column alert settings image ID not found. Oh, yeah, okay. Because I aliased the. Right. I goofed up. I aliased the table and I didn't call it by its alias. Settings DAO. Yeah, I'm referring to it as this, but it's really just settings. Because I aliased the table here. Okay. That was a goof on my part. this. See what we've got going here. Has any stuff coming back on it? Nope. We got a problem here. Settings is no are missing. People errors settings dot active not. Bad SQL grammar. Settings dot active is not. Be there. Definitely there. There's definitely a column called active. One of the good things here is I can copy this right out. See what it says here. Oh wait, missing things. Oh, I only copied that part. Oh, better. Next error in statement. Oh, I think there's some. But characters in here that are a little bit weird. Yeah, that definitely works. So that's weird. Very weird. Not. Was it? Oh, grammar. All right. I gotta take a short break, my friends. I will be right back. Hang tight. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for the long pause. All right. So we are getting advanced equal grammar, but I don't understand why that would be. Hey, Verna, welcome on in. Starting with an error log, yeah. We just tested this sequel here, and it's fine. So why is it saying bad SQL grammar over here? Settings.active not found. I wonder if this is the map. Oh, it is. It is the map. Why is it going back as a bad SQL grammar? So it is the mapper. So it doesn't like me prefixing the column. Settings row mapper. So but how? So okay. So the sequel's fine. It's just the mapper itself, which this is what I was worried about, that there was no way to, it wasn't going to grab the column correctly. So let's do, this is a good question, because I don't think I've ever really run into this problem before. Like, ever doing anything, because we usually try to avoid it, but, GPC template, row mapper, multiple columns with same name. Okay, use column numbers. I had a feeling they would say that. I mean, that's why they gave you the column numbers. I mean, obviously I could alias the columns. Yeah. Right. So, kind of what I figured. The doctor, it hurts when I do this. Don't do that is basically the answer there. Well, I guess when I do, so I can kind of fix that thing. When I prefix the column, let's see, prefix alias columns. All right. So switch to assembly instead. Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh. And not just any assembly. Use the bytecode, the raw. I'll just start writing everything in raw bytecode, Java bytecode. We'll roll with that. So I guess we'll do plus. Yeah, there it is. As prefix underscore columns I. Yep. I love how I did that, and Copilot's like, yeah, I know what you're about to do. Okay. So then when I do, so I mean that makes slightly easier when I go to do the mapper, right? Because real full dummy stuff, and you have to skull it like, yeah, I got a couple of those already tonight, where it's just like, it just kind of like wanders, like it tried to actually it was with this method with the prefixed alias columns or prefix columns I had. It tried to call a non-existent method on Apache Commons string utils. It just made up a method offhand, like string utils dot prefix columns, and it looked totally legitimate. And then you look at it and you're like, wait, that method doesn't exist on string utils at all. It just hooked it up. It's like, oh, well, this will work for you. It's like, no, that's not how that works at all. Bad Copilot, bad. When it invents things that don't exist at a horse. Yeah, I know, exactly. I mean, and this is what I've been saying for a while, is like, it's just another tool in the toolbox. It's not replacing programs. I swear to God. I mean, if some of the stuff that Copilot spits out is going to replace programmers, then that programmer was not particularly good at their job to begin with. I mean, because it's literally spitting out things that don't exist. So, I mean, that says a lot. You're losing your job over Copilot. It's just another tool. It's the more you learn its quirks and its meanderings, and the more you integrate it with your regular development, the better off you'll end up being at the end, you know? You really believe that, even for me who's in the early 30s? I know it's not there yet, but it's slightly sweat-inducing. Yeah. I honestly... I don't... So... There's a huge leap that people are not understanding when it comes to AI, because everyone's thinking like AGI is coming, artificial intelligence, general intelligence, and the reality of the situation is that's a ginormous leap, right? Because what you're basically doing is you're saying you want a computer to think and behave like an experienced person, right? And so how does that happen? Well, the computer's got to gain experience, right? Which means it's got to do things wrong before it does things right. And so if you're like, let's just fast forward 10 years and say that something like that emerged, right? At that point, you've probably got 20 or more years of experience as a developer, right? And the computer is essentially starting out as a small child, right? A childlike view of the world. It might have an encyclopedic knowledge, but it doesn't know what the hell to do with it. And it doesn't know how to interact with humans. It doesn't know how to interpret requirements. And it doesn't know how to handle exceptional cases. And it doesn't know how to write secure code. It doesn't know how to learn new libraries as they're coming, as they get developed, or to learn new concepts. It's got to learn all of that stuff, and it's got to experience all that stuff. And that's not something that just happens overnight. I mean, you could have the world's largest supercomputer run at it and try to make it happen overnight, but it's still going to take a significant amount of time, even beyond that emergence, for that to actually make some sort of inroad, right? There's a human brain component that computers will lack for a very long time, and honestly, even then, even if we get to that end state where you've got computers programming themselves, right? They have to work in an imperfect human world, right? So there's still a human element there that they need to be able to intrinsically understand, which is, something that is perfectly logical and comprehensible by a computer may not be perfectly logical or comprehensible by a human. So you're still going to need a human there to be like, what you're spouting isn't making sense, or isn't dumbed down enough for the general masses to consume, right? So there's still some of that, for want of a better term, flavor text, right? That still needs to be in there. It still needs to be in the mix. Because, I mean, what programming language would a computer generate? Probably something similar to brainfuck, right? There ain't no programmers out there going to sit there and write anything in brainfuck, right? Anything serious, anyway. And it's the same thing with interfaces, user interfaces, and human user interactions. And there's that spice there that they're always going to be lacking, at least for a long, long time. Like, I don't think you're going to have, like, yes, once you get to AGI, it might start to be, the ball might start rolling downhill. You might start seeing, exponential growth at the beginning, but you're going to hit some maximum at some point. And then, or I guess maxima is not really you're going to hit some plateau. And it's going to plateau for a while until it finally gets all the way there, right? Because that's just kind of the way things work. So even someone who's just going into college right now, I don't think has to worry about being replaced. Now, there's going to be some things that are there's going to be some tasks that are no longer needed to be performed by humans, probably. Much like the Industrial Revolution brought machinery in, or that will be deemed. I guess there wouldn't be anything in programming that's deemed too dangerous for humans, but there will be instances where there are things that we do now that are so rudimentary that they'll just be computerized, right? And there's going to be a little bit of that. But you're still going to need, and so because of that, you'll probably see a little bit of a shrinkage of developers, at least in some industries. Like for instance, I'd say at the worst possible case, if you're writing like some kind of industrial embedded software or something like that, that may see a shrink of developers, as they won't need, maybe potentially won't need quite as many as they need now, because a lot of that could be potentially automated and still provide a high level of safety, we'll say. And you'll just have, like, instead of having maybe 100 developers, you might have 30 developers. And those 30 developers are mostly working on higher level tasks and higher level concepts, and just kind of making sure, being more guardians to what's being generated than necessarily, and just kind of driving the generation of stuff rather than actively down in the trenches per se. I mean, they'll be in the trenches, but they won't be like maybe necessarily typing every single line of code. We'll say. I think honestly, where we'll see the most, where it would be the most beneficial, at least, is if they kind of pushed AI into the debugging slash pen testing slash automated testing realm, because that's one thing right now that humans tend to struggle the most with, because it's a lot of repetitive tasks if you're doing it manually. And every company that I've worked for has tried at some point to do some kind of automation, and they've always kind of never quite gotten there where they could really automate their testing and really keep, all that going. And that's somewhere where, AI might potentially shine, because it could look at what you've already produced and try to poke at it, there are areas like that would be enhanced, and those don't need necessarily general intelligence, although it would certainly help probably. So I'm not concerned is the long and short of it. I think we're at least a generation, if not two, away from humans are no longer necessary. Humans are no longer part of the equation, kind of thing, So many influencers screaming, "Oh my God, it's happening! I made Flappy Bird." I know they're dumb, but still, yeah. I mean, there's going to be that. But then again, I kind of look at that and I go, well, that might be someone who's now interested in programming, who wasn't interested before, because now they've got a mentor in a way. Like, I feel like one of the big things that the AI currently brings to the table for at least programmers is that you can, in many ways, you like being able to just, there's a lot of like rubber duck programming going on, right? Where and I mean, this is what it used to be called, rubber ducky programming, where you basically pull a colleague aside and you tell them your problem, and in the process of telling them the problem that you're facing, you solve it on your own, right? There's a little bit of that with the AI going on. A lot of times it's like you're asking the AI a question, and in the process of asking the question, it's spitting out details at you, and then suddenly that kind of sparks an idea, and you're like, oh wait, okay, now I got somewhere to go. It's kind of it's a good way of sort of getting past like writer's block, which is another thing that affects programmers too. It's just kind of like you're just sitting there staring at something. You're like, I don't know where, like, I know what the problem is. I just don't know where to start, or I don't know where to go next. And then you start Googling things, and you're getting all kinds of crazy things that don't make any sense. And you're trying to weed through all the noise. And then by having the AI there to kind of like look at what you're doing and kind of weed through some of that noise for you and kind of give you ideas is a very powerful thing. It's a very, very powerful thing. And I think it would be a shame to not utilize it because of fear of it replacing it. I think that's something we all have to kind of, the genie's already out of the bottle. We all kind of have to deal with it. Having unit tests is great, but writing ephemeral tests that don't break because you change something unrelated is brutal, at least in our front end. AI can write those tests all they want. AI being a debugger tool, documentation tool is literally life-changing. No more combing through several Stack Overflow threads praying someone knows or had that issue. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've seen me go through Stack Overflow a couple times on stream, and how many times have I picked the first answer? Like 5% of the time, 10% of the time. Usually I'm scrolling all the way down the freaking page, finding that one answer that's like buried either in a comment or in somewhere else. And then that usually leads to the actual real answer, right? Not the accepted answer that was boosted to the top. And how often am I landing on pages where the question was asked, 11 years ago, and now the answers are all out of date? Because now there are ways of doing what couldn't be done 11 years ago. You spend more time sorting the noise from the good stuff. And if AI could do some of that for you, I mean, AI still generates its own kind of noise, but if you understand what kind of noise you're getting from the AI, and if you understand when the AI is just totally bullshitting you, that could be very nice to try to, that can really make you more effective, because you can kind of just get to the root of the issue a lot faster, I really feel that with Spring. A lot of why I haven't gone full throttle in Spring is there's so much outdated, deprecated crap tutorials out there. Well, the other thing that I like Spring Framework, I've used it a lot. I think it's really fantastic and powerful, but the thing I absolutely monumentally hate about it is they decided that they wanted to be like Ruby. And they kept pushing, and they're constantly pushing Spring Boot. Spring Boot this, Spring Boot that. Spring Boot is mother, Spring Boot is father, Spring Boot is love, Spring Boot is life. And it's none of those things. It sucks. Because here's the problem with Spring Boot. The idea behind it is solid, which is, from the command line you say Spring Boot init, boom, you got your project. Then you say, I want to add a DAO. Boom, you got it. And, I want to add a table here. Boom, you got that. Great. as soon as you try to stray a little bit off that path and do something a little bit different from the freaking pet store app that it comes shipped with, right? Then you end up having to punt and re-implement all kinds of crap just to get around, just to go a little bit aside. You're just not on the right. You're not on the same path. You're kind of to the right of the path, and it's annoying as hell, right? That's why I don't use it, because, for instance, setting up the H2 database for this thing, right? I've done this in the past where I've tried to use Spring Boot with H2, and they say, oh yeah, just use it. It's great. It's awesome. Well, that's the in-memory database. Well, as soon as you try to do something like, oh, I don't know, have it write your database to the disk so that you can have it, and it's not just a temporary thing. Oh, well, okay, there's like 5 different properties that do that. Okay. And then you try them, and it's like, none of those properties work. And so you look some more and like, oh, that property was renamed to this other property. Well, you try that. No, that doesn't work. Oh, that property was then renamed back to the old property. And that doesn't, like, and then you eventually get to the point where you're just like, look, I'm just going to go implement this using non-Spring Boot stuff. Because it's forcing me to do that. It's forcing me to put all these beans, to initialize all these beans myself, and not use the beans that were initialized through Spring Boot. And it's the most annoying thing ever. And the worst part of that is there's almost no documentation on that stuff, right? It's like everything's documented with Spring Boot in mind. And now you've got to kind of take a step back and go, okay, how do I do this without all that crap in the middle? And how do I do this way? And you got to really, really dig in to try to find the right documentation for it. Yeah, application properties is some spooky shit, right? Like, it's just terrible. It's like they jumped from XML configuration because XML configuration is just terrible. It doesn't perform well. It's hard to read and all this stuff. And they went to, you must wire up everything in Java. Everything's just Java. Java configuration this, Java configuration that. And then they went, oh, yeah, that's kind of very verbose. So let's go back to, we'll just do it for you and just set the property up in application properties. And it's madness, right? It's just absolute madness. And I swear to Christ, there is some developer who goes around to open source projects, and this developer knows exactly one pattern, and it's the builder pattern. And they go to open source projects all over the place, and they just introduce builder patterns everywhere. And it's the most annoying thing in the world. It's like this, like, I have an example here of this, of how insane this freaking gets. Look at the web config. No, I don't really have one here. There was one. Config. I don't think it has much. No. So, in the Hex project, we go over here. What was it? It was security, wasn't it? Yeah, this shit. Like, they're like, oh yeah, we need lambdas everywhere. Lambdas are awesome. We need lambdas. And it's like, all right, you want to customize how the logout processor works? There you go. Customizer, HTTP security, logout configure. You gotta do all this crap, right? oh, you want to reuse that a couple times? Oh yeah, you just gotta do this. Like, insanity. It's just insanity. It's like, I swear, they introduced not only the builder pattern, but and most of that builder pattern introduction is because they love, somebody has a freaking hard on for lambdas. It's like, I get it, dude. You like lambdas. You don't need them for every goddamn thing. You don't need them for every goddamn thing. You don't need them for a freaking settings thing. Just give me a settings object and just set it. Like, new settings object. Set the properties on it. Boom. Done. It doesn't have to be this nonsense. It's like this. And just trying to find how to do this, figure out how to do this, took me ages because none of it's documented. You have to dig through all their freaking code to figure out how the hell that, all that shit. Annoying. Oh man. Builder pattern was a mistake and we need to go back. Linus Torvalds was right that OOP can cause absolute garbage. I mean, I love OOP, but some of the crap I see. Do you know if they ever came to an agreement on auto-wired Holy Wars? I don't know. I don't know. I know that they have auto-wired and qualifier now as their big thing. I still have code at work that uses resource with the name on it. At resource with the name on it. So it's, in fact, we're still using the XML configuration at work for Spring. I've been trying to convince the others to, at some point, move to the Java configuration, just because you can't find the XML, you can't find documentation on the XML configuration anymore for most of the stuff. It's like been silently, you know, relegated to the annals of history. Interviewing at your work next week, taking notes of things to say I don't do in the interview. Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, this is these are experiential things that just happen as you deal with things over the years. You know, it's just like, over time you just see these things and you're just like, why are people doing this? It's like I think there was a study or a survey done recently to the developers about like how many developers like test-driven development, how many people use test-driven development, and how many people like test-driven development. And the number of people who use it was like, I want to say 40%, and the number who actually liked it was something like 20%. It was something very low number, and test-driven development you barely hear about anymore because, yeah, it was a fad and it died out. It was you know, consultant bait is all that was. No, I hate test-driven development. I hate it. I hate it with a fiery passion. Absolutely hate it with a fiery passion. I worked at a place that was, you know, the guys really liked test-driven development. They really wanted to do test-driven development. And I refused. I just said, I'll pretend to do test-driven development. I'll write the test after I'm done. I'll keep the test coverage up, but I'll write the test after I'm done writing the actual code. Because it was just, it writes... First of all, it doesn't promote useful tests, right? Like, tests have to be done not as a required thing. And this is, we're going to have a conversation about this at work tomorrow, and I'm already reading it because I'm going to be the one saying, being a negative Nancy on it. But like, it's the same thing with mandating code coverage percentage, right? It's like, that does not promote quality. All it promotes is gaming the system, right? Like, it just promotes writing tests for the sake of writing tests, not writing good tests, writing quality tests, writing tests that actually make a difference. The whole point, like there's two different audiences for tests, right? If you're talking automation, that is the realm of quality assurance, and that should be around business requirements. And those tests should be driven by not only business requirements, but also what QA needs to make their lives easier, right? If you're talking unit and integration tests that are written in like JUnit or something like that, that is a different audience. That audience is developers or other developers on the team, right? And the goal of those tests is not to exhaustively exercise the system. The goal of those tests is to improve the confidence in the other developers, that when they come into a part of the system and they make changes, that they're confident that their changes haven't broken anything, because the tests are there to improve that confidence. The tests are there to say, hey, something you just did broke this other thing, not, hey, we gotta make our PowerPoint slide show that our test coverage is green because it's over 70%, right? You know, it's a different function, you know. Otherwise, you know, you end up with tests that are just exercising the JVM. They're just, you know, they're testing that a getter and setter work. Like, whoop-de-frickin-do. Yes, the JVM managed to copy a memory address from one variable to another. Congratulations, you just replicated the test that the JVM itself comes with, you know, just to get a frickin' number. Yeah. Why is TDD bad? Company X and Meta all use TDD and their stuff is the shiniest poop ever thrown at the wall of the internet. Yeah. Yeah. The best example of why TDD is bad is an example that ironically Uncle Bob Martin gave to our team years ago when we hired him as a consultant to learn test-driven development from. And by hire as a consultant, I mean he came in and gave a talk on test-driven development. He wasn't like working on our code or anything. We brought him in to talk about test-driven development, and he had an example of a code that would calculate the results of a bowling game. Track and calculate the results of bowling. And he, you know, wrote the code out, you know, the standard way, and then he started writing it out with the test-driven development way. And the irony of it was the standard way that he wrote the code that scores a bowling match, you know, up to 300 and all that. The irony of that was when he wrote it without doing test-driven development, it was more maintainable and understandable than when he wrote it with test-driven development. Like he literally, like he was standing this up as, oh, look how great this is. When I write it with test-driven development, I reduced this code down from, 70 lines to 4 lines. And I looked at that and I was like, yeah, but nobody can understand the frickin' 4 lines you just did. Like, how is that ever going to be like at 2 a.m., how is somebody going to look at that and understand what the hell's going on? And the answer to that was, well, they'll just have to look at the tests. Well, the tests aren't going to, the tests are only going to tell you as much as the tests are going to tell you, right? If you don't write good tests, then the test isn't really telling you what the hell this system is doing and what all the implications are of how you're going to change it, right? You have to have excellent tests, and TDD doesn't care if you write excellent tests or not. It just cares that you wrote something was red and now it's green. Oh, it was red and now it's green. It doesn't care if you wrote a good test or not, or if the test that you wrote even makes any kind of freaking sense. It just, you wrote a test, you got some code coverage. Woo! You know, it's just, it's a golf course consultant bait, right? You get these golf course consultants who jump from one hot topic to the next because that's where they can make their money, right? Or golf course evangelist is what I'm trying to go for. It's the golf course evangelism, right? They evangelize whatever is going to make them the most money in consultant fees, and then they move on to the next thing that's hot topic. And we as developers are freaking gullible. We're constantly looking for the next great thing, and then you have, it's like, it's the whole eggs are bad for you, eggs are good for you, eggs are bad for you, eggs are good for you. We're constantly doing that. We're constantly flip-flopping between all these, the next shiny thing. And it's just, no one's asking the right questions. Like, no one's looking at it objectively and going, what the hell is this supposed to be doing? What the hell is this supposed to be accomplishing? Yeah, and that's, it is what it is. Unfortunately, I've seen way too much of that. Anyway, that was my rant. I get a few of those a year. I get the opportunity to rant a few times a year. I'm gonna have another one tomorrow when I have to tell these guys why it's a monumentally bad idea to mandate code coverage percentages. And I have a feeling I'm gonna lose the argument yet again, because I've lost it before in the past with other companies. And this is just gonna be another one where I lose the argument again. And then we're gonna be stuck making god-awful stupid tests. You've convinced the whole dev team we're giving you a raise, a Tesla, and a cool AI that's capable of simulating marital problems. Right? Oh man. I mean, that's test-driven development in a nutshell, right? Is like, test-driven development is the product of someone who looked at a self-help book for how to spice up your sex life with your partner. They looked at the first item, which is communicate more effectively with your partner, and they took that to mean announce when you're going to have an orgasm, and that's it. Like that's test-driven development. It doesn't go any deeper than that. Oh, no problem. It is no problem. No problem whatsoever. This is part coding and part me bullshitting, so I have no problems with it. And besides, we're still early days of Magenta Breeze. It's going to take a while for this to become a thing. So, okay, then I go to the row mapper. And then what I need to do is say, instead of that, I'll just say underscore. Oh. And this, my friends, is why
welcome to the human race.
AI is most needed. Kind of go through and do these little menial factorings. Why I embrace our AI future here. At least the immediate future. At least until I retire, and then AI can just take over the world. I don't care at that point. I'm kidding, of course. I do care. Well, someone who did what you're doing in Vim in no time flat, still not enough to convince me to use that crap. Yeah, I mean, I've used Vi before. And there are, like, finding and replacing it is pretty sweet, but it's like there are parts of an IDE that I just don't want to lose. I've known a bunch of people who will use Vim or will use Notepad++ or whatever to do Java or whatever code they're writing. It doesn't really matter whether it's Java or anything else. And I miss being able to like see the references of something very easily. Jump to a method by just holding down control and doing all that stuff. I miss being able to just drop into a debugger at a moment's notice. You know, because I noticed a lot of people who are in Vi and stuff and Vim, they're very adverse to the debugger. They'll just start throwing log statements in there and just looking at logs. And it's like, dude, the amount of time it's taking you to do that, you could just go into a nice robust debugger and do what you got to do. And some of that I think is they just don't understand what they're missing in the debugger because they don't utilize it properly. Like, I mean, the debugger in Eclipse, I can do conditional breakpoints. I can do, I can breakpoint on exceptions. I can breakpoint on the number of iterations. Like there's pretty powerful. And then once I breakpoint, I can change the value of variables in memory and see what happens when I change them. And I'm sure you could probably do that with like the command line debuggers too, but like, I feel like the amount of speed that you're supposedly gaining from using that, you're losing in the practical nature of things, And that was the one thing I missed the most with what I was doing. When I was doing Elixir stuff, and I was using Visual Studio Code, because Elixir, there was a debugger for Elixir, but I could never get it to work, and so that was just super annoying. Working on that, not having that debugger there. I mean, maybe I rely too much on the debugger, but I mean, my experience is that I've had, when I say like 2 a.m., errors that I've had to wake up to fix, I've had that experience in the past where I've gotten a call from work at like 2 a.m, not my current job, but previous jobs. And there was an error, in production somewhere, and it's got to be fixed like right now. All right, And so a lot of my coding and a lot of my sentimentality is around how do I make it so that if there was ever a point where I'm, up at 2 a.m. trying to fix something, or someone else on the team's up at 2 a.m. trying to fix something, that they can actually rock this thing as easily as possible and get to the problem and the solution as quickly and as easily as possible. Whether that ever going to be an actual case or not, And having a good debugger is like pays for itself at that point. Because when you're barely awake and you're trying to just wrap your head around what's going on, like being able to just step through something and slowly get your brain to process it is a godsend. Because the worst too is like writing code for a client demo. It's not like, the boss comes to you, the big boss comes to you and is like, we're having a client demo and we promised them stuff that we don't do. So congratulations, you now need to make that happen in some capacity. Just make it happen enough that it's it's shows off well, and then we'll worry about actually implementing it correctly if it ever comes to that, if we land this contract. And so you're up the night before and just, you know, you're up the whole day and night before, just like trying to make something happen that probably shouldn't happen, and probably in many cases is just the worst thing in the world. But, you know, company needs to look good, you know. Yeah, I've had some death marches in the past. I mean, that's why I burned out years ago. It's just the death marches they eventually got to a point where I just couldn't deal with it. And for a while there, I hated coding. It took me a couple years to get over to a point where I was enjoying writing code again. And even now, today, we're talking probably 11, 12 years later, I still don't like coding as much as I did before I burned out. There's still, like, that burnout is kind of, there's like a permanent aspect to it, you know? I keep working during the burnout. I kept working during the burnout, but what I did was I changed jobs. And that helped quite a bit because it got me out of the toxic situation that I was in. And it also gave me something new to kind of chew on, right? Like I had to relearn a new system. I had to learn, there was new libraries I hadn't used before, all that stuff. Like I was working, so the thing that burned me out was the e-commerce company. And there was a variety of reasons for that. And one of the big ones was, that was just their culture. They had a culture of just like being a meat grinder. They were known as a meat grinder. Like people would come in, work for them for 6 months to a year, and just up and quit just in the middle of the day with no notice. Like literally stand up and go, fuck this job, and they're gone. Like you never see them again. Like that kind of thing. And I stayed that I worked there for 3 years. Which shows you the kind of masochist that I am. But at the end of that 3 years, that's where I just sort of, what really forced me is the burnout caused health problems. I had a cold for like 6 months that just would not go away. And I just felt like crap. And then I had my first real nasty attack of sleep apnea, which I just recently got a CPAP for all these years later. But I had my first like severe attack where I had come home and I laid down and I had been sleeping on the bed for maybe 2 hours, and I suddenly just woke up in a panic because I had stopped breathing long enough that I just kind of like I was about to suffocate, and I just kind of woke up in a panic and sat on the side of the bed and started like wheezing and just trying to like get some air, and it felt like I had been underwater for, minutes, that kind of thing. That was my sort of wake up call. Like I can't continue in this environment. It's now begun to cause actual health problems. And so I got away from there, and went to a different job, worked on like flex and stuff in that job, which was an interesting experience. And then I bounced around from job to job for like one job a year for a couple of years there, because it was, companies were getting bought out. Like I'd work for a company for like 6 to 7 months or 9 months, and they would get bought out, and then the entire culture would change, and then you'd have to leave, and then everybody around you started to leave, so you would leave. And then I went to another one, and that got bought out, and the whole culture changed, and people started leaving, so I left that one. So I had the what I like to call the wilderness period right after my burnout, where I just kind of was searching around for a good, solid place to be and stay. And it took me 4 years, but I finally found one. The place where I'm at now. I've been here. It'll be 10 years next year. Next year will be next February. I think will be 10 years. And it just took some, wandering to just kind of get around it. I had no idea sleep apnea did that. Yeah, no, sleep apnea is basically you just stop breathing. And even with the mask on and stuff, I still have attacks. Like the machine can detect when I'm having like an attack. And all the machine is really doing is it increases the pressure. Like I have a mask that I wear, and increases the air pressure around my nose and my mouth, so that basically if I stop breathing, it'll force air into me, and that'll kind of like get you to breathe again. Like it automatically adjusts the pressure, so if I stop at some point, it'll jack the pressure up and really like force air into me, and then that'll kind of like make sure that I keep breathing again, and I restart my breathing and all that stuff. But yeah, it was a very scary thing, and a lot of that came on. Reason that came on the way it did was I was just absolutely exhausted. Like I had come back. I think that was a day that I had worked, I think 30